Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Learn English with Mary and Sam. I'm Mary, and I'm here with Sam.
Hey guys, how's everyone doing today? We're so excited to be back with you for another episode. And today, we have a super important topic.
That's right. Today, we're going to talk about how to ask for help politely. This is something that we all do in our daily lives, whether it's at work, school, or even when we're out in the community.
Exactly. You might find yourself in a situation where you need help, but it's important to know how to ask for it in a polite and respectful way. Especially if you're speaking in English, there are a few phrases and strategies that make your request sound more polite and considerate.
And we'll make sure you feel confident using these polite expressions in no time. Let's get started. Okay, so first things first, when you need help, it's really important to ask in a way that shows respect and appreciation. In English, there are many ways to make a polite request. Sam, why don't you start by sharing some examples of polite ways to ask for help?
Sure. So, one of the most common and polite ways to ask for help is by saying, "Could you please?" or "Can you please?" Let's take a look at an example. "Could you please help me with this?" "Can you please give me directions to the nearest subway station?"
I see. Could you please? And can you please are both polite, but they sound a bit different. Could you please sounds a little more formal, while can you please is still polite, but maybe a little more casual.
Exactly. And remember, when you add please, it softens your request. It shows that you're being respectful. Another way to ask politely is by using "would you mind?" For example, "Would you mind helping me with this project? Would you mind giving me a moment of your time?"
I like this one. Would you mind? Is especially useful when you want to ask someone for a favor, but you're not sure if it's a big inconvenience. It's a way to make your request sound even softer and more polite.
That's right. Another great phrase you can use is, "I was wondering if you could." It's a nice way to ask for help without being too direct. For example, "I was wondering if you could help me carry this box." "I was wondering if you could tell me more about this topic."
This one is especially useful when you don't want to impose on someone. It's kind of like saying, "I'm not sure if it's possible, but if you have time."
Exactly. It's a very polite way to ask for assistance, and it makes you sound considerate of the other person's time and energy.
Okay, so let's do a quick recap of some of the most polite ways to ask for help. Could you please? Can you please? Would you mind? I was wondering if you could.
Great. Now, what about when you're on the receiving end of a request? How do you respond politely when someone asks you for help?
Yes, that's an important point. When someone asks for help, it's good to acknowledge their request politely, even if you're not sure if you can assist them. Some common responses include, "Sure, I'd be happy to help." "Of course, what do you need?" "I'd love to help. What's the problem?" "No problem at all. I can help with that."
I think it's important to sound friendly and willing to help, even if you're not able to give the full support they need. In those cases, you can still be polite by saying, "I'm not sure if I can help, but I can try." "I'm sorry, but I'm not able to help with that. Maybe someone else can."
That's a great point, Sam. It's okay to say no politely. What matters is how you say it. Instead of just saying no, you could say, "I'm afraid I can't help with that." Or, "I'm sorry, but I'm not able to assist at the moment." This keeps the conversation polite and considerate.
Exactly. And sometimes, if you can't help, it's a good idea to suggest an alternative or point the person to someone who can assist. For example, "I'm afraid I can't help, but maybe you could try asking Sarah. She's an expert on this." "I'm not sure, but you could check the website for more information."
Great examples, Sam. It's all about being polite, respectful, and showing that you care. Even if you can't help directly, offering suggestions or pointing someone in the right direction is always appreciated.
Now, let's practice. we're going to give you some scenarios, and we want you to think about how you'd politely ask for help. Ready?
Let's do it. Here's scenario 1. Imagine you're at the airport and you don't know where to go for your gate. How would you ask for help politely?
I would say something like, "Excuse me, could you please help me find my gate?" Or, "I'm sorry to bother you, but I was wondering if you could show me where gate 23 is." Remember to use "excuse me" to get the person's attention politely.
Exactly. Great job, Sam. Now, here's another one. Let's say you're in a store and you can't find a certain item. How would you ask for help?
You could say, "Hi, can you please help me find the shampoo aisle?" Or, "Would you mind showing me where the milk is?" Again, please is really important here to keep it polite.
That's a great answer. You can also add, "Excuse me, could you point me to the electronics section?" if you want to sound even more polite.
And don't forget to say "thank you" after the person helps you. Politeness goes a long way, and it makes the conversation much smoother.
Before we wrap up, let's talk about cultural differences for a second. In some cultures, it might be considered rude to ask for help directly, especially if it's a big favor. For example, in some parts of the world, people might feel uncomfortable asking for help unless they know each other very well.
That's true, but in English-speaking countries, people generally expect that others will ask for help when needed. It's seen as a normal and polite thing to do. However, you should still be careful about how you ask. Always consider the situation and the person you're asking.
Exactly. And one more tip. When you're asking someone you don't know for help, always try to use a polite tone and respectful language, as we've shown you today. That'll help you avoid misunderstandings and keep the conversation friendly. All right, let's recap what we've learned today. First, we discussed how to ask for help politely, using phrases like, "Could you please?" "Can you please?" "Would you mind?" "I was wondering if you could."
We also talked about how to respond politely when someone asks you for help. Remember to use friendly and respectful phrases like, "Sure, I'd be happy to help." "Of course, what do you need?" "I'm sorry, I can't help, but maybe you could try asking Sarah."
And of course, don't forget to practice. Asking for help politely is a skill, and the more you practice, the more confident you'll feel.
Thanks so much for joining us today. We hope you learned some useful ways to ask for help politely in English.
We'd love to hear from you. What situations do you often find yourself asking for help in? Share your examples in the comments below.
And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. We have a lot of exciting topics coming your way.
We'll see you next time on Learn English with Mary and Sam. Take care and happy learning.